latest acquisition. Welcome to the JUN Parish Council meeting. There's no public session as such, but we have a letter that the clerk will bring down.
There's a letter coming from the Village Hall. Dear councillors, with the help of the Parish Council Clerk, the Village Hall obtained a grant for upgrading the gentleman's toilet facility in accordance with the Village Hall being nominated as an emergency shelter for the residents of the village. Unfortunately, this grant was for a limited amount and left a shortfall of approximately £700 to complete the required work. In recent months, the Village Hall has had some major expenditure in meeting new safety and emergency requirements, and all our resources are needed to keep the Village Hall up to date. With this in mind, we agreed to approach the Parish Council in the hope that the £700 could be funded from a grant by the Parish Council. Estimates for the new urinals, sink and flooring can be forwarded if required. As the Village Hall was built by the people of the village for the people, hopefully we can rely on the support of the representatives of the people. Thank you for taking the time to consider this request. Just a bit of background, a grant was obtained for £1,950, I think it was, and Kev Hill put in the best price, and that was given. And that's to do all the work of stripping out the toilet, tidying it up and putting it back together again, but it didn't include the sanitary ware or whatever it's called. Obviously you can't discuss that tonight. I don't know whether you want me to put that on the meeting next agenda.
Next month's agenda. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have apologies from 3 members.
Yeah, Helen, Anthea and Mike.
The minutes of the PC dated 20th of the 5th, 2015. Any matters arising? Can they then be signed off? All those in favour of signing off?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Declaration of interest. Is anyone a declaration to make regarding any of tonight's?
No, Joe, this is non-pecuniary on a planning application.
Is this and yes,
Yeah.
No one else? Okay.
I'll record the Village Hall members, Richard and Ernest, in case anything comes up.
I think we're doing that time.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, matters arising then. Parish Council website.
Andrew, I would hope.
Yeah, since the last meeting, I've been in contact with Bethany. I've also been in contact with, I can't remember the gentleman's name at East Riding.
Stephen.
That's it, Stephanie. Haven't actually had the opportunity to sit down yet with Bethany and have a face-to-face with her and a cup of tea, but we are going to still arrange to do that. But she's very kindly passed a lot of information across, and I've been kind of digesting and working through it. And as of about a couple of weeks ago, I've now got full control of the both of the domain names, the one I registered and then the one that's currently advertised in the Grapevine for the Parish Council. Both of those are held on my account, my registering account, in trust obviously for the Parish Council. We're not pointing those at the East Riding website yet, so it's not officially live, but I had a brief kind of off-topic conversation when we were at the Saturday surgery. And I think the best thing to do is probably for me to, now I've got access to it, possibly send a list of some topics I think to incorporate onto the website, contact details, newsletters, bits and pieces, minutes, and then we can look at putting it live with a basic amount of coverage, because we could always wait for the opportune moment to fill it with everything we want to fill it with, but we probably need to get it up and running sooner rather than later, and then we can add to it and it will grow over time. So at the moment I've got full access to it. Bethany no longer has access to the website, but that was more at her request and my agreement that it was better just to hand all that across. It looks quite straightforward in that it's designed for people. I don't have any web programming skills, so it's, if you can use Word, then you can pretty much update the website. So to report tonight, I've got control of the website. We know, well, the Parish Council now has full control of the website. And I'm going to start the process of looking at what information we can put on. So I'd like to think maybe by the next meeting we should be in a position to decide on the go-live date and for what content we're going to have on the website. And if you're on an agreement, I'll just send a general email around, and if there's anyone that's got any feedback, or I'll make some suggestions on it, and if anyone disagrees, you know, then maybe at the next meeting we can decide on the go-live date. Or are you happy for me to just put the website live and we correspond on email? I mean, what's the procedure? How would you like to kind of progress with that?
So it's up and running there.
Because my idea for it was literally just to kind of get a copy. Steve's offered to give me copies of all the minutes, so we'll put all the minutes on there, obviously, and all the relevant contact details. And if anyone can contribute to that, that'd be great. I mean, obviously, I'll put together a basic structure, and I can take some of the information if Emily's fine with it at the grapevine.
I've got all the contact
You've got
details.
all that.
I can send you that in one
Yeah.
fell swoop. I can send you agendas, minutes, newsletters.
So it might be very
Similar to
skeletal.
Reading.
It may go live very skeletal and not much kind of flesh on it, you know, to begin with in terms of the meat. But once it's live, then at each meeting it might be that we can have a discussion of anything that we want to incorporate onto it. I can then go away from the meeting, add it to the website. Maybe we could have like a rolling updating process on a monthly basis, possibly. But the key is we've now got access to it. But I'd still like to have a chat with Bethany because she did a lot of work on a lot of the content. I think she, from what I've seen, she's been working very hard in the background on it, so if I can have a chat with her and see where she was at, if she's got a plan and what her ideas were, then I can maybe bring those to yourselves via email possibly. Yeah?
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Andrew? Okay, then we'll move on. Wind Turbine Community Fund.
There's nothing to
Nothing
report
to
from me
report.
on that at all.
Handyman issues.
Could I just a couple of things? A few points were brought up at the last meeting. Peter too and Peter and I have had conversations. Haven't yet spoken to Steve Deere. Unfortunately, the meeting we planned, he was called away because there was a family funeral. So I should be seeing Steve over the next week, and we'll pick up the issues that were mentioned at that point.
Okay, move on to the play area.
Still waiting for the external thing from the village hall. I know Carol was on with booking that, Carol Keane. The vandalism, the two episodes of vandalism, again we're dependent on Bethany because I think she's the only person that can look at that. So we're waiting for that. Spoken to the police about both issues. They've both been logged, and there will be a piece in tomorrow's Post and Howden Times, School Times. Just to say this has happened. If any member of the public has any information, please contact the police, sort of thing. So it'll record it there. So that was that. In terms of, if I could pick up on and cover the defibrillators as well, grant which mentioned somewhere. The East Riding have a £3,000 local grant fund. They are very happy if parish council, that's for 1 year for a parish council, and we've used it before and maximised the spend of it. They're very happy if the parish council see it as 2 grants, so like one for 1,950 and one for 1,050, because they see the money going further. And to apply for a grant for more than 2,000 is a lot more complicated, and you have to tick a lot more boxes. I've spoken to Claire Adrian, I think I mentioned to you, the first responder. She's very happy, the ambulance service I think are very happy that the village has another defibrillator that's like the ones that you've seen in the outlying villages, the 24/7 access. And I've spoken to the local grant fund coordinator, and she seems to think it would make sense to apply for 2, because she knows the village well, and to have one at the do-it-yourself shop that Margaret owns, and have one maybe on the wall of the surgery. And I've contacted both people, they're very happy with that. I'm still waiting for information back from the local grant fund coordinator about it, but in principle, if that comes across well, we could apply for £1,995 towards those 2 defibrillators and have 2 fixed ones in the village, which I think is what you as a parish council would like. That would cost £500 or £510 to add to it, because the total cost is 2,500 or whatever it is. But if you do that, then that allows you 1,050 grant left to apply for something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And again, I've spoken to the local grant fund coordinator and explained the problems we've had with the vandalism in the play area, and particularly the picnic bench, which was damaged very easily because it was rotten. You know, when I looked at it with Peter, the other one that's in there that's wooden will be in the same condition. And I said to her, would it be feasible to put in a grant request for 2 plastic ones, like the plastic seat on the green? And she's checking that. Until I've got feedback from her, I can't promise that. So in principle, if you agree, we could put in a grant request for 2 defibrillators that would need about £500 out of reserves to cover that cost, and 2 benches that would be covered for the other £1,000.
I think the defibrillators are an excellent idea.
I think the size of the village is all you want to.
I think one of the,
Everybody from being viewed down to.
one of the doctor's surgery, I think certainly, and you know, one of your establishment, Margaret, seems to make sense as well. We've certainly got enough, you know, people in the village, haven't we?
Yeah.
And from what you were saying about adding the £500 extra from the reserves, well, if we can get a second grant for the £1,000 to cover the cost of the benches, then actually we're actually £500 up overall. If you look at it from a total pot of money, sounds like benches would be a good idea as well.
Yeah, well, the benches, they're quite expensive, the plastic benches.
They're about, and I haven't priced them exactly, but in round figures about £500, yeah.
That would all disappear onto.
Yeah, you get them with extra long legs, so you actually dig the legs in, so they're very difficult to steal, sort of thing.
Going back to the defibrillators, Mr. Chairman, are there people who have been trained to use them?
I'm told that the type of defibrillator we're talking about, Ernest, needs no training whatsoever.
Oh.
The instructions are on the machine, you literally bare somebody's chest, stick it on and press it.
So all you have to do is be able to read.
They'll talk you through it. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, what they do, they talk you through it.
How do they?
When you dial 999, apparently, I was talking to Claire, and what she understands to happen is that when you dial 999 and you're requesting, you know, heart failure, stopping or whatever, then they give you the number to go to open the defib box on the wall. They stay on the line with you and they talk you through it as well. Until they usually stay on the line with you until an ambulance or a professional person has arrived with you.
So, Margaret, is there a phone there?
No,
No,
what
so
you
you
dial 99 from your house or wherever, from your bar,
Yeah.
they'll tell you where the nearest one is,
Yeah.
and as I say, you go, they give you a code to get in. Then when that's being used, Claire said it most likely be the first responder's job to put it back, clean it, put it back in its casing and reset the code. And then there'll be a new code given out to each patient.
The defib, if I may, actually speaks to you, because I've seen all the ones. I had 6 in my house the other week, and you press a button and it says, hello, I'm your defibrillator, bare the chest of the patient, stick the pads on, make sure nobody's touching the patient, and press the button. And it's foolproof. You can't kill anybody. It won't work if the patient is breathing. It's idiot-proof sort of thing. You know.
And that will mean, of course, that we'll have 3 in the village.
Have we already got one in the village?
We've got a team trained up to use the National Health one.
Yeah, so it's the first responders.
Yeah.
Well, the more the merrier. I think the more the merrier, you know, if the grants are available, the money's there, then I think certainly one at either end of the village makes absolutely good sense.
Shall I go ahead with that if
Are we all in favour that the clerk goes ahead with the grant application? Yeah.
that's the 2, is it? The pensions as well? Yeah, okay.
And then the street light revision on Beacon View.
Yeah, you asked me some time ago, that's going ahead. I've now got letters of support from the village hall, from the soccer club, from our ward councillors, and crucially from the policeman, what was his title?
Crime prevention.
Crime prevention officer, thank you, who came and met with Peter and myself. We walked the walk and he explained exactly what we needed to do, and I've since got organised a quote from the East Riding street lighting that we've had to revise since we spoke to the policeman. That's on its way. Ollie Southgate, who is a tree surgeon, he's local, he's well respected I think in the village, he's given me a quote to do work on the oak trees because they have to be lifted to allow the light from the new street lights to actually get to the path. And there'll be other bits and pieces of work. I've yet to consult with the 4 houses on Beacon View that back onto that end of the path. And I will put something through their letterboxes and give them my contact details. There's nothing really that will affect them, but just so they know what's happening because they'll see it from their properties. So everything is green to go, and with the crime reduction officer giving his written support, then to apply to the police for a grant, hopefully it will impact on that. And when the cheque is written today for the door chain money to go back, once they've had that money back from us, we can then ask for more for the new grant. So hopefully that will all come together.
Thank you. Grapevine, Village Hall questionnaire, do you live with it?
I think Ian would ask that if everybody could fill out the questionnaire, that'd be really useful.
Yes, very, very useful. We'd just like to thank the clerk for organising that.
And we've got Emily at the back if anybody wants to talk about the church. You should have all had the grapevine, hopefully.
I had a comment from somebody that'd been delivering them up Chapel Fields, and apparently they weren't closing the gates behind them, and somebody's dogs had got out. So
I'll mention that too.
if they wouldn't mind, making sure that they close them.
No questions on the grapevine? Okay, thank you. The adoption of the BT telephone box, the red one on Back Lane, and the recycling there.
I think Mike was actually.
Mike was going to look at that.
Well, we're going to see what it would take to move it.
Yeah.
He's not here. So we'll talk about that next month, hopefully. Petition for the pedestrian crossing.
Yes, we had a informal meeting with Catherine, the Barbers and other people and some of the parish council to talk about how that will go forward. They wanted to present that at Beverley, so I've given information to Catherine of who she needs to contact to be on site. They will accept apparently any petition at the reception, but it's if we can get the right person to come and have a picture taken, that'd be much better. I'm currently trying to research where we are on this mythical list, because we've been told we can have a crossing, but we haven't been told too much more. So I'll find out where we are on the list, how we might promote ourselves, where they think it should be sited, and how much it would cost, because the cost would give options as came out at the meeting.
Yes,
If it's not too expensive, then there might be other ways of funding it.
Can I just say, I was talking to the chairman of Shipton Parish Council, and they're on with the same, wanted to put a crossing in, but obviously they wanted to put theirs across the 1079, which I would presume is a lot bigger job. But nevertheless, they're pushing for one as well, and they've had people have offered to pay a proportion of it towards it, but they're still having no joy with each Friday. They won't have it.
Is that mainly because of the road itself?
Not because of the 1079 or?
I would think that's going to be, but they just won't entertain.
It's a 30 mile an hour speed limit though, regardless of what road it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're having the same. And he told me that he's getting no backing from his ward council, where obviously we are getting backing from our ward council.
That's a pity.
So they're on the same push.
Okay. Right, we'll move on then to commuted sun for Hollybank Farm and Peter Ward Development. that might be.
Could I mention speeding? Sorry, I
Oh,
did
yes,
include
yes.
that in there, just very quickly, because again, at the same meeting, that was talked about, and the stickers that you asked me to order have been received. People that weren't there. Come out, where you are. There we go. So those stickers, 6 of those are being given to 16 residents on High Street and Selby Road to put on the sides of their wheelie bins. So when the bins are out, obviously from both directions, that'll be seen. So that's going to happen hopefully very shortly. People took them at the meeting and are seeing the people who will hopefully do that. Anthea was there, and she's got 2 mannequins, and she's happy to give those to the village for them to be made into scarecrows with high-vis vests on, if you like, pointing a hairdryer, as someone said, that they can be moved up and down the road. And Margaret and I are talking about that, and hopefully in the fullness of time we might get that done. And
I
that's
can't do it before the scarecrow week.
no, it'll be after, but
I win.
sorry, Pete, thank you for that.
Right, move on then to, sorry, no, we're still talking about community song. Andrew? We had a swift talk.
We did. I think we had quite a productive meeting where we were discussing options, and I think that this was last week's meeting. The general consensus was that we need to be trying to get inward input from parishioners in the village to see what they would like to add to a list. Basically, come up with a list. And I think please correct me if I'm wrong, Richard or Steve, but you were going to have a chat with Leanne, who's in charge of the community sums money, to try and get down on paper, because there still seems to be question marks around exactly what criteria we have to meet, what hoops we have to jump through, what stipulations and T's and C's there are to do with the community sums fund, so that we as a parish council can be in receipt of that, review it, and then we can start to actually move forward and not lose momentum, because that's something that Richard and I talked about on the committee, that we're very keen to not lose the momentum, because obviously at this time in the year, if we're progressing, we don't want everything to start happening kind of in winter time if we're talking about outdoor play areas. So the sooner we can move forward with kind of obtaining consensus and understanding and ideas from people in the village as to what they would like to see. I suggested potentially approaching Leanne and seeing if we can get a list of past projects, so that, you know, if we're struggling for inspiration ourselves, given this money has to be spent by a certain period of time, which I think is officially August 2017, but Leanne has got on record as saying that we wouldn't lose the funds. Is that correct, Steve? Or
Yeah, she did.
It has to be, sorry?
She did say that.
But there's nothing in writing.
There's nothing in writing, is there, I don't think? So we have
All we've got in writing is by August 2017, we've got to spend the first lot of money.
Yeah.
But sorry, just going on what you said. I mean, I've had no luck getting in touch with Leanne. Have you, Steve? Have you actually spoke to Leanne?
I haven't this time. It's not something I've managed yet. I will.
I've tried.
Yeah, she's not the easiest.
She's
Once you get her, she's brilliant, but she's not the easiest of people to.
It's difficult to get it, because, like I say, from my point of view, is like I say, we've got this money, and there's money screaming out in the play corner as regards damaged product, as product that wants replacing. I think we need to move sooner rather than later than that. So my thought from the meeting was that we're going to try to get hold of Leanne and get this person down, Steve. She's got sensory damage, didn't she, from the playgroup. So do you want me to still to try to progress that, or both of us?
Yeah, please do. I'm on the case, but we'll get hold of her and she'll.
So I will try to get hold of Leanne again and try to get this person down. Who she suggests comes down and looks at the play corner, because, like I say, it's just a bit of good PR as regards, you know, the parish council moving forward with things as regards, you know, improving things, especially at the play corner. Because very soon we're going to have the 6 weeks holiday and it's pandemonium in there, it is.
There was one point I brought up at the meeting as well, which was someone approached me in confidence, we got talking, and this person had a young daughter who'd actually been on the slide at the play park. I brought it up with Peter too, and her daughter actually cut herself on some of the plastic pegs that I think hold the matting down on the slope for the slide. And Peter said that they are very rough and ready. It's obviously been there for some time now, but you know, this woman was obviously very concerned that her daughter had cut her, I think it was a leg, don't quote me on that, had cut her leg, and wanted to know what was happening and would we be moving forward with obviously renovating it. And then the recent space of vandalism and the pieces of wood that were left jagged, and then obviously Peter made them safe, and then the benches. One of the comments that we discussed and talked about was that the people who are causing vandalism, is there an underlying reason why they're specifically, you know, vandalising that area? And one of the points I made was maybe it's possible that those individuals don't have another space in the village specifically for, say, the younger generation.
It's gone on for years.
Has it been a
It's gone on
consistent
for
thing?
years and years, all the way within 30 years, and there's always been a state of vandalism at one spot or another in the play corner. You know, at one point they wanted a ball wall, they were built a ball wall, and all they did was throw bottom baskets to smash them, so it had to be taken down. These sort of things. A lot of cabins that they wanted to sit in, for them to now.
Right, okay.
The scouts did some painting of the swings and everything, and somebody went at night and daubed black paint all over it.
Right.
So it's an ongoing thing, there's a little element somewhere.
But there are a number of different options we can be looking at. We need to get more feedback, and I think we can come up with ideas ourselves, but I think, you know, Helen mentioned at the meeting that it would be good to get feedback from the villagers, and how we do that, maybe through the grapevine.
I thought we were targeting the next issue of the grapevine to have something in it.
Yeah.
You as a
The August issue.
You as a committee said that the next meeting should be before the next parish council meeting. We'll try and put something concrete to present to the next parish council meeting. And if that's agreed, then that can go into the August grapevine. I think you said that.
That's fine, yeah.
One other way of getting to, with it being the children that it's, you know, being focused on, is asking the school to put it in reading packets, a little questionnaire or something to go in reading packets that go home, because it's them that are going to be using it, and if they want any ideas of what it could, you know, how it could be done.
I think the size of the village would make sense, having a play area at this end somewhere if possible. And that would split if people are congregating in one area, it would split them. And
there is an area of grassland, and my apologies, I don't know the street names, but it's not far from here, kind of in this direction, just down the side to the back, a triangular area of grassland that seems to be just...
No.
Is
We've
that
got
a...
this.
Because it just seems like...
We can't find the owner.
Oh, right.
I mean, that field.
Yeah, it's just, you come out of the Methodist church, turn left, and it's round, there's a snicket that brings you into a triangle area of grass with a waste bin for dog muck.
That's Blackfield.
Is that what it is?
Whatever you call
Because
Blackfield.
we walked through there with the dogs, we thought it was a real shame that
Yeah.
that wasn't being utilised. It really is. It's ideal.
A previous council wanted to do something, but the residents backing onto it were very anti.
Right, okay. Because of noise and things like that.
But mainly we couldn't find,
Yeah, the last time we did, we
couldn't
just
get
got
to
to
the
the
owner.
owner, got
You
nowhere
can't
with
do
it.
anything with the land if you don't
It
know.
was the developer, and the developer's gone bust and moved on.
Right. I mean, the thing is, we also talked about, we've obviously got the play area, but, you know, there is a possibility, Steve mentioned, that some of the repair works and the works to actually renovate the play area, we could obtain grants for that. And I made the point that if we're able to get grants for doing some or all of the work in the play area, maybe not all of it, but some of it, then it makes sense to acquire those, and then we'll have more of the commuted funds to spend on a larger project or projects for the village, rather than allocating all those funds to the play area and then not taking advantage of any grant money out there. But other than the play area, there's obviously a substantial sum of money that we need to maybe think about other options, be it, like Ian says, you know, I think Tim mentioned having a play area further up this end of the village, whether or not we have something that's more tailored for the older generation, like young adults or teenagers, like outdoor gym was banded around, you know, ideas like that. A tennis court or AstroTurf surface was something that was talked about, because, you know, if there was a ability to play tennis there, take the nets down and then use it for, say in winter, it could be used by the football club for soccer practice, and you could use it as, you know, have a couple of hoops for shooting, basketball and so forth. So I think we've got a lot of ideas flying around. It's just how we bring those together to actually get some consensus that we can come to the full council and then.
I've got that on the report that someone requested, could they turn it into a play area, and if possible put CCTV up to see if there was any damage went on. It was to turn it into a football field for the youngsters.
We're still talking about that
Yeah, it's a
field.
backfield, yeah.
There's a problem there, of course, that we've found out since we looked into it, that there's got to be a 20-metre buffer zone on any new play areas between the play area and residents.
Really?
Yeah.
That leaves about 5 square yards in the middle of that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I thought that, but I was asked, so I've written it down.
Just on the topic of CCTV, I apologise, I didn't bring it up earlier on. Bethany sent a very helpful email on the topic of it, and by the letter of the written word, the CCTV at the village hall, Ian might correct me if I'm wrong here, officially records for 1 week, but because it was recently upgraded in the last few years, it actually records for about a month. Now, I know that Bethany's been very busy and has got obviously an awful lot of other commitments. I kind of made the point in the email, I backpedal because I realise I'm already committed to a number of different things, you know, for the parish council. Would it make sense for a member of the parish council to be trained up to have access to it? Because if it's not checked at some point soon, there's a very real chance that we may lose the footage of the actual event because we're a number of weeks on from it now, and then we won't be able to obviously export that and give it to the police. Would it be worthwhile maybe having someone who sits on the parish council trained up so that if something like this happens, someone can go down and review it and check it? But I have to put that on the agenda for next week, next month's meeting, I'm not sure.
I would take advice of Bethany on that. If she was happy, at the moment she's the one.
Her and her husband, I think, are the two people that are authorised, she said, to do it.
Yeah.
But she also said in an email she's quite happy to pass it on. She's not protective of it in that sense, so she would happily have someone be trained up on it. I initially said, I would be interested, but then when I started to look at my commitments, I realised that.
I mean, it is parish council areas that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Who actually, one of those cameras we paid for, didn't we?
Yeah.
The
One
fire
goes
tower.
to the village green.
Yeah. But after that, I presume the rest are owned by the village hall.
Village hall.
And the equipment to the village halls.
Mm.
Seems to me like it's a village hall.
It does, but there is
It's
a
very
problem.
corner for parish council. You've got the village green parish council. I think that looks right.
The one that was put up for to find out the green was actually for the board,
Yeah.
the new
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
But for what, sorry Mr Chairman, but from what I can gather, obviously, sifting, and I've done it ourselves as we have it, sifting through CCTV is a very time-consuming job.
Well, police were after Bethany on Friday to have a look at the CCTV and couldn't get hold of it. Because I was talking to Bill Mel outside the village hall, and he said he wanted to have a look at it as well.
So if you've got 2 people in one household, chances are one's away, the other's away.
We really need maybe not just one person, because I understand, I wouldn't be opposed to being trained up on it myself if there was maybe 1 or 2 other people to take the load as well, because of my personal business commitments and things as well. I would be happily trained up on it. If I'm available, I'll pop down. Obviously, it's to the benefit of the village, and I can review as best I can if we can narrow the time window, as Tim said, because the last thing you want to do is sit through days and days worth of footage. But I think if there was a number of people, could we maybe have someone proposed from the village hall committee that would be trained up on it, Ian, or is there someone who knows it already? On the village
Bethany still represents,
Well, she's on the village hall committee, isn't she, of course?
well, she's been invited back on it, yeah.
Right.
So, but we'd have no, well, I'd put it to the committee, but I don't think we'd have any objections if the parish council didn't put somebody forward.
Is there anyone else that would be happy to join me in kind of being trained up on it so that we have the ability as a council to check it, just in case I'm not available?
Can I just, Mr Chairman, I always seem to be going around the house and towing a bit of a job business here, but how is access? How does anybody then, obviously, if the police come and say, right, okay, we want to have a look at this CCTV, I know you can access it, but how then does anybody who's not a member of the unit get access to it without sort of, coming to either see Ian or, caretaker. That would be the problem, wouldn't it, you know? with
Access
the
to it if it's closed, yeah.
Not a big problem.
When the CCTV was going 2 or 3 time ago, before you see, CCTV had been neglected and the police wanted a reading, and the equipment had run out and it hadn't been replaced. So, you know, it has to be looked after properly to be able to get any proper information for the police. I don't know how long does these films last, Tim?
Well, that depends. That just depend on your hard drive, doesn't it? You know
I
how.
think officially it's a minimum of a week, but
Yeah.
Bethany said that actually since it's been upgraded, it's more like a month.
Yeah,
So
but then
about
that
4
sometimes
weeks.
it might record for a month, but the quality maybe isn't as good.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you want to record over a 2-week period, you'll have a better resolution. So,
Where you can obviously make out features and things, zoom in on it better, yeah.
hopefully.
So, can the problem of actually accessing,
Well, Mr. Chairman, can I make a proposal? I think this maybe needs to go back to the village hall.
yeah,
Tell them that we're obviously interested, and then I think they need to come back with a proposal to the
Yeah.
parish council.
and
Maybe because it's in their property.
yes, yeah,
I know it's looking after some of our stuff, but it's in their property.
Yeah, well, if you say to us that parish council are interested in doing it, we'll take it to the village hall and get permission to.
Well, I think it would make sense for, you know, ideally a couple of us on the parish council, say in case one of us isn't around. I don't know if anyone else is in agreement, but as and when a report of vandalism comes into us, and then obviously Peter goes out, does remedial work, the best time, because of what Tim was saying, is obviously to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. We should be checking the CCTV as soon as it's practically possible, so that we don't have days and days worth of footage to review. And then, if, as Tim says, if we've got the ability to have higher resolution, if we know, maybe we could speak to people, and if we know that we only have a week or 2 weeks of really good quality, then it can motivate people that are trained upon it, maybe 3 people, to actually go review the footage, export it, and then we've got the best possible chance of making use of that footage, passing it across to the police. And I've said, I'll put my hand up, I'm happy to be trained upon it, but you know, I'd prefer not to be the only individual trained upon it. Obviously Bethany's got training on it, so I think the more people that have got the ability to use it, and it's not a particularly scary, mythical thing that's out there, if more people have got access to it, who can review it, then we've got more chance of doing it quickly.
Is there something, sorry, Ian, is there something with these recordings that if they're actually shown to the general public, you know, they can't use them as a prosecution?
Bethany said something in the email which I think it is possible we may, whoever gets trained upon it has to maybe be certified or checked out by the police. She indicated, the way I read the email, that her and her husband are authorised by the police to review the footage, and that might be to do with the Data Protection Act and confidentiality and things. So there is possibly something there, and that again might be worth I don't know if we've got the ability to ask someone, or if it's a CCTV village hall question, to find out if we can...
I can ask our local policeman Bill about it, because he would know.
Yeah, see if, because there is a lot, I know from working with customers that got CCTV, there is a lot of legislation about where you can and can't point who can review it. Tim probably is on the receiving end of that as well.
So to move it on, shall we put it on the next
if you could,
agenda, is the village hall, yeah?
and especially the access,
Yeah.
please. Right, moving on then to the next item, Parish Council Facebook page.
Yeah, I was asked to put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who mine now, sorry. Might have been
Yes,
Colin.
I think Alan and I discussed it in the last when we were down looking at the play area when the group of us were down there. And I seem like you've been all talking tonight, my apologies. We had a conversation about it, and I personally, I think that the Facebook, I think once we have a parish website, which is an information portal where we can post minutes, news, articles, you know, relevant things, I don't know how useful or beneficial the Facebook page is going to be, because I personally don't use Facebook. I'm one of the few people I think in the world that doesn't use it, but from what I do know of it, you kind of need to be proactively checking it on a very regular basis, because things can be said, things can spread, comments can be made.
I don't use it.
I think, you know, if you're a business or you're a person or an individual and you're obviously keeping in contact with friends and family, I'm not really sure how much use it's going to be. And Helen was in agreement, I'm not speaking for her, but what she said to me indicated that she was in agreement as well, as to just how much benefit there's going to be. So whether or not we should consider disbanding the Facebook page was what we kind of discussed in passing. But obviously, what other people think about it as well. What do you guys think about, you know, Facebook and having an official parish council Facebook page if we've got a website? Do you think it's something we require, or do you think we need, you know,
I think we
We'll
should
also
have
have
a
the other,
vote
one or
on
the
it.
other,
Can we vote, Mr. Chairman? Can we have a vote on it, please?
Certainly can. I'm not a great believer in Facebook.
It seems as though they don't
That might be an age thing.
I mean, because obviously someone on the parish council has got to take responsibility as well for the Facebook page. And you know, I couldn't take responsibility for it. Yeah, I mean, most of the information we are going to be producing, we can put in a static form on the website so people can gain that information, you know, go and retrieve the information and download it.
So can I propose then, that we have a vote, do we need to keep the Facebook page?
So we're voting on keeping it or not keeping
Shall we disband?
We'll
the
vote
Facebook?
then on
it? Not
not
disbanding
keeping it. We're to disband it, wipe it off, whatever we do.
So we're voting on that. So we're
Yep.
disbanding it.
Vote in favour.
Yeah.
That's majority. That's
So everybody.
everyone.
Is this going to take effect now or when the website?
Helen, I believe, is the only person who's got access to it
Yeah.
at the moment. So if you want, I'm happy to drop Helen an email after the meeting, asking her to cancel the page, just basically disable it offline.
The Millennium Stones, cleaning and proposed move.
Yeah, I was asked a while ago to check a price for cleaning all 3 stones, and I've got a price from Rotherham's to say that they can be done for £360 plus VAT. It says the one going out towards Market Wheaton is the worst by far and will take the longest, but that is taken into account on it. Peter then talked to me or the parish council and said, could I check on a price for moving the one on the Market Wheaton Road side, because it is getting so much sort of muck thrown at it. And again, Rotherham's are saying that they'd have to dismantle it brick by brick, clean off the mortar at the factory and rebuild it, so it would be expensive. You'd be looking at £1,200 plus VAT to dismantle it, take it back to the factory, clean it all up and rebuild it wherever you wanted it.
I propose to leave it where it is.
So it is a lot of money.
They do an awful lot of them.
Yeah.
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 Look to
Well,
watch.
it's actually a disgrace. And if they clean it now, by Christmas it will be black again.
But have they not got any protective
I'm
cleaning?
not sure what they've got, but it
When-
doesn't matter what you put on it, if you throw muck at it, it'll stick.
Is the cleaning of it, is it jet washing it, or am I just, is that
No,
simplifying it? Is it
they've
much more in
got
depth?
special chemicals, because I think it's Yorkshire, isn't it?
What's causing, is it traffic that's spraying off the actual road, or is there a puddle or a dip in the surface?
Just track it.
Just-
Mostly HGVs, they pull a certain amount of muck behind them when it's wet and dirty. They turn the sharp right, but the muck just carries on, and well, there's the stone. And that stone is actually sat just below ground level. When you're approaching it in the car, you can't actually read the whole stone.
If it was cleaned, is it possible to give it a quick clean on a monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly basis? You know, get some chemicals and if could maybe Peter,
We would have to ask some Rotherham's.
what's involved in.
I spoke to someone down there the last time they cleaned it, the last time they cleaned it free. And they said that you can't just use any chemicals, it needs the right ones. I dare say they would sell us some.
Just wondered if we
Would
could
you
get
say
an initial.
it's
You'll sell some in your shop market, what to clean it, don't you?